Let's now go to Parliament, where proponents of the promotion of proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values bill, also known as the anti-LGBTQ bill, are fuming over Parliament's inability to take the bill at its consideration stage. The bill seeks to proscribe LGBTQ+ and related activities, propaganda, advocacy for or promotion of LGBTQ and its related activities.
The bill will provide for protection and support for children and persons who are victims or accused of LGBT and related activities. Although the bill was suspected to be taken on Wednesday, the House was unable to do so due to the absence of the chairman of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, Kwame Nyimedu-Entwi.
We engage, and the agreement is we end on questions and we continue tomorrow. We have the whole day tomorrow. We have the whole day tomorrow for other businesses.
This got the NDC MPs furious.
This is something that will take us 1 hour for 3 weeks. What is the problem of this august house with dealing with this bill, which matters to the Ghanaian people?
Moments thereafter, the NDC MPs gathered the press to address them. As the press conference was ongoing, tried to beckon the sponsors of the bill to be restrained and not grant any interview.
She's one of them. This is the same lady who went to stand on radio and said that I had taken money from LGBTQ. Let's go. And he said I shouldn't mention her name as a pro-LGBTQ person.
She's one of them. Continue.
She went and sat on the media and said she knows that I've taken money from LGBTQ people. She's about else. He took her father to come and apologize to me.
This infuriated them.
Frustration is that this is not the first time this is happening. It's not the second time. This is the third time the Speaker has given such an instruction and it has been disregarded in his absence. We need to understand from the majority side what their issues with the bill are. We need to understand with those who take the chair when the Speaker gives the instruction what their opposition to the bill is. We are very well aware of people in leadership on the majority side who are reaching out to sponsors of the bill, asking us to step down the bill. Is that why the majority side is fighting against the bill? The excuse given today that the chairman of the committee is not in the chamber, so we can't take the amendment, is alien to the practice of this House.
Komla Kluche is our parliamentary correspondent and he joins us on Zoom. Thank you so much for your time, Komla. So further explain to us why the House couldn't take the bill at its consideration stage today.
Well, the explanation was quite a simple one, because whenever there is any item that should be taken on the order paper, leadership of both sides, which you call the leadership of the House, both the NDC minority and the NPP minority, meet before the House will start sitting to discuss it. My understanding is that this was actually discussed that it should be taken. But before the House could rise, they had engaged. And these engagements once in a while it comes. And where there are things that should be taken, they have discussions on it. Where some that should not be taken, they have engagement and come to a compromise on it. But from where the majority side, led by the Deputy Whip, Lydia Al-Hassan, is coming from, she is indicating that, yes, they had some understanding of the sort with the minority leadership that they will not take this because the chairman of the committee was not available or he was not in the chamber. Wherever he was, it was not explained. And Joe Osei, who was then sitting in the chair as the first deputy speaker, said, well, if the chairman of the committee is not there, then there's very little they can do. They will have to adjourn. This was what actually got Sam George and the sponsors of the bill very angry and infuriated, that he started venting his spleen right from the chamber, and then he had to go organize a press conference. But then shortly after all of this, we reached out to the chairman of the committee, Kwame Nyimedu-Entwi, who says there's more to this bill than we are seeing on the face of it. And from where he sits as the chairman of the committee, it may not be possible for this parliament to have the bill passed, even though the speaker said the 8th will be able to pass it before they would get dissolved.
Yeah, Komla, we'll play that later on, but what has been the reaction from the majority?
He's the only one from the majority who has spoken. We reached out to some majority leadership members. Lydia Lassan, for instance, I reached out to her, but she's not responded to our calls. Declined commentary on the matter. But the chairman of the committee is the one who has responded because he has come under intense scrutiny and attack, also for not being able to spearhead the next stage of the bill, which is the consideration stage.
What's the next direction for proponents of the bill?
Well, from what they have said at the press conference, all they are going to be doing now is to mount the pressure on the leadership of the majority to have it listed on the order paper. If it is listed on the order paper, it means that the House would consider it. From where they sit, there is absolutely no other way for them to do than to have the consideration done. But this has to be led by the majority. It is the programming of it and the spearheading of it on the floor that is done by the majority. Hearing if it is listed by the leadership of the majority and also the chairman of the committee makes himself available, well, that could be done. But in some instances, if the chairman is not there, the vice chairman or the ranking who are available can also step in to take up the work that he will do regarding the specific bill.
We now have that reaction. Let's take a listen.
Draw my attention that we should go ahead and prosecute or do consideration on this bill. At any rate, this is not the only bill that is at the consideration stage. The interstate succession bill has been there almost the whole of our meeting, and that starts from page 21. Nobody thinks of prosecuting this, and then we have the proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values at page 29. When Speaker called me at the office, if we start today, there is no way we can finish these amendments before this meeting ends. So why should I start? If at any rate, he said it's their bill and he should not accuse the wrong person, that if any person mounts the seat, nobody has said that he wanted to go on. If the leadership had agreed, I prosecute what the leadership would decide to do. And if leadership agrees that we have to go ahead and do the consideration, so be it. But there are other creases that we need to iron out. And we need one meeting to finish up where.
The reaction from Parliament. And Komla, thank you so much for your time. And Komla Kluche is our parliamentary correspondent. Martin.
All right, so come with us. Let's go to your election command center now because we're going to be doing some political stories. The National Council of the New Patriotic Party has granted a request from the party's flag bearer, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, to name his running mate at a later date other than today. According to the NPP's constitution, Dr. Bawumia should have named his running mate today, the 12 months clear of the next general elections.
The NPP constitution gives clear timelines for the flag bearer to make the choice of a running mate. An extension of time can also be sought under special circumstances. After two crunch emergency meetings on Wednesday, the National Council granted Dr. Bawumia's request for more time to announce his running mate.
Today should have been the day that our leader of the party and our presidential candidate should have presented his running mate to National Council. But however, upon request from the presidential candidate that because his elections was done on the 4th of November 2023, he needs a bit of time to continue with his consultation before he brings the proposed name for running mate to National Council.
The party also varied the date of the parliamentary primaries of sitting MPs from January 20th to January 27th, 2024.
The new date for the elections at where the party have members of parliament will be on the 27th of January 2024. So kindly take notice of that.
In this very room, the New Patriotic Party top echelons, the National Council for that matter, has been meeting, deliberating on what to do with the running mate slot of the New Patriotic Party. But they have today accepted the request from Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia for some respite and for some more time to further consult and decide who should be his partner on that New Patriotic Party ticket with which they seek to win the general election barely some 12 months away from today. Duke Mentopoku, TV3 News, Alisa Hotel, Accra.
Away from the NPP, the once vibrant political party which led the then Gold Coast, now Ghana, to its independence, has failed to make a mark in the country's political scene in the Fourth Republic. Internal wrangling in the Convention People's Party, one of the oldest political parties, continues to blight the chances of annexing power. William Evans Nkum has been chronicling some of the unfolding events within the party.
By 1949, the Convention People's Party had been born in Takwa. Of course, Nkrumah needed the support of Bedema and Kojo Bosio, and of course, the Committee of Youth Organization to form the Convention People's Party, a party splintered from the United Gold Coast Convention, which was also formed in 1947. The CPP has failed to find its rhythm as far as the Ghanaian politics is concerned. While internal wranglings blighted the chances of CPP of coming to power again. Recent development in the CPP puts the once revered party in a position that makes it even more unattractive to the Ghanaian electorate.
I am gone. Please, let me, I'm gone. Because I think I've done what I have to do. If God says it's the time for me to leave, I'm ready, I'm gone. I'm no longer the General Secretary of the Convention People's Party. I put it on record from today that I am not the General Secretary of the Convention People's Party. In due course, I am going to let everybody know where my political leanings and allegiance will be.
Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndiom left the CPP to form the PPP. The former national chairman of the MPP, Freddie Blay, he was also a staunch member of the CPP. The big question is, will the CPP be able to find its political rhythm in the future?
Unfortunately, what happens there is an assault and a disgrace to the CPP fraternity.
Your guess is as good as mine. William Evans Nkum, TV3 News, Kumasi.
In more political news this evening, a senior political finance advisor at the International Foundation for Electoral Systems, Magnus Oman, has challenged the media and civil society to actively combat vote buying in politics. He believes that money could significantly influence the 2024 elections if not checked.
Vote buying has become common in intra-party and general elections where politicians give money to influence voters. However, politicians often deny this and justify it as transportation expenses. The issue seems to be worsening over time. The Office of the Special Prosecutor, after the New Patriotic Party orphan constituency primaries, declared 6 persons wanted for alleged vote buying. A senior political finance advisor at the International Foundation for Electoral Systems, Magnus Oman, on the sidelines of an anti-corruption and anti-money laundering workshop for the media and civil society in Accra, expressed grave concern about the issue.
If civil society and media does not focus very strongly on this issue, and if we cannot persuade politicians to behave differently, then I think there is a significant risk that money will play at least as big a role in the 2024 elections as they have done in the past. We would expect to see things get better. From that perspective, I have to say personally that I'm a bit disappointed that things have not got better than they have in Ghana on that particular issue. But a lot of it is due to poverty. When people are poor, it is very difficult to persuade them that not accepting vote buying, not responding to these state resources is an issue that will lead to long-term problems for the country.
He says there should be a conscious effort not to allow the practice to continue.
At the very end, the root cause is that these are tactics that function in Ghanaian politics. So we need to get to a situation where the people of Ghana do not need and do not respond to activities of vote buying and abuse of state resources in the electoral process.
The National Democratic Congress NDC is requesting government to rather introduce a quota system on imports rather than a restriction. The minority MPs have been resisting the laying of the legislative instrument on import restriction in the last 2 weeks and say their resolve cannot stand the test of time, hence a demand for citizen activism.
The legislative instrument on the export and import of restrictions on importation of selected strategic product regulations 2023 has been at the center of key parliamentary battles in the legislature over the last 2 weeks. The LI has been resisted by trade interest groups and the minority, arguing it will have negative impact on businesses and the availability of the listed products, which would result in hiked inflation. The minority most importantly say it would be an avenue for corruption, a position reiterated during the party's Moment of Truth series.
The regulatory framework proposed by the LI is not only opaque, but can lend itself to arbitrariness and abuse. This clearly is going to be an avenue for distortion and corruption if allowed to stand. And that is why the NDC minority do not believe that this should be allowed to stand. One of the ways is to introduce a transparent quota system for the importation of certain products, as was done by the elsewhere NDC John Mahama administration in the poultry sector.
Minority leader Dr. Kaisel Atoforson, however, admits their resistance may not hold any longer, hence a call for urgent action from the citizenry.
As we speak, the Minister for Trade and Industry is in Parliament, trying everything possible to lay it. So far, we have used strategies in Parliament to curtail the laying. It cannot continue. All what we are asking is that we can't do this alone. So join us. Let us stop this obnoxious legislative instrument.
He is further warning of increased difficulty should Parliament pass the 2024 budget, which he argues is riddled with burdening taxes.
You pay 20% tax on application. I don't know how they are going to get the application tax for. Diesel and petrol vehicles going forward, each one of them will be paying 100 Ghana cedis. And this is what they call the internal combustion engine vehicles.
Away from politics now, 4 organizers of Tuesday's demonstration in Winneba have been arrested. They were picked up by the police at the Swedru district, where they had converged to solidarize with those who had been arrested earlier for rioting.
The Swedru District Court granted 10,000 cedis bail to each of the 9 protesters who were earlier detained after the Tuesday demonstration over the potential mining in Winneba. Each of the accused is to provide 2 sureties as bail condition. Those who were taken into custody at the Efutu Municipal Assembly after a run-in with the police were not charged. The police requested a remand for the purpose of conducting additional inquiries into their actions. However, counsel for the accused persons, Mohammed Kufichu Mesin Naya, prayed the court for bail, which the judge granted. The hearing has been adjourned to Tuesday, December 19. Meanwhile, the Efutu Municipal Chief Executive, Kasim Zuberu, has deplored the attack on the police by the demonstrators. According to him, there has not been any communication concerning mining activities in any part of Winneba.
It was not right for them to attack the police simply because the officers oppose your unlawful engagement. Again, the reason behind the demonstration is even false. The Minerals Commission was on record that there has not been any proposal for mining in the area. I have also affirmed what the Commission said. The Paramount Chief, Nenyi Gate, had said same. What else does one want to know that there is nothing of that sort on our lands?
Away from the central region, over 100,000 potential senior high school students are missing out on academic activities due to difficulties in getting placed days after schools reopened for freshers on Monday, December 4. George Queenan reports the National Resolution Center in Accra is overwhelmed with concerns that may not be fully resolved to get every applicant in school.
Here is a frustrated single parent with her son in the quest to further his education. 16-year-old Desmond Obeng selected Laboni Senior High School with a boarding option, only to be placed in Kimbu Senior High School as a day student. His mother, Florence Obeng, is not pleased.
We met others who were here last week, but their concerns have not been resolved.
She says she cannot afford the daily expenses if she accepts his son's placement at Kimbu Senior High School.
Because I will for transportation, parents are really suffering and the situation is unbearable.
Where I'm staying is very far, Ningo Prom Prom. This morning we left home around 5:30 and we are now here. It's 9 already. Before I get to Kimbo, I'll miss classes.
The numbers keep increasing day by day at the SHS School Placement National Resolution Center at the Nator here in Accra. Parents are racing behind time to get their wards enrolled into suitable second cycle institutions across the country. There are those who had no placement at all, those changing to a preferred choice from what was given, and from day to boarding and vice versa. The frustration of parents tell from their faces.
Somebody in Accra, he chose the schools, and you gave him a school which is day at Asamankesi. So what is he going to do? Is the government enabling the son to go to school or thwarting the effort of the parents?
I am really worried that I stay in the house. My child needs to be in school by now.
Some say the 2 to 3 days given to resolve their concerns is just too close at them.
Almost 2 days.
They said they will call us in 2 days, so we are hoping we will be called. We are really concerned. Our numbers have been collected. I pray we will be called so my child goes to school.
However, parents have been cautioned against the engagement with middlemen amidst their desperation, as all resolution activities here are absolutely free. Out of 598,839 results from WAEC, 585,797 candidates qualified, with 81.56%, which is 477,772 automatically placed in their preferred choices, a significant improvement from the previous year. 18.44% of qualified candidates, which is 108,025, could not be matched with their choices. Josh Queenan, TV3 News, Accra.
To some other news this evening, the Ochehini Osagyefo Amoitio Opinion II has warned failure to ensure community ownership of projects will derail sustainable development goal targets. He gave the caution when the Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Dan Kwekubotwe, paid a courtesy call on him at Chebi as part of an assessment tour of projects under the Secondary Cities Support Program in the Eastern Region.
The Ochehini emphasized that the centrality of intervention implementation does not foster accountability and equitable resource allocation.
Good policies are bad. It does not get done because centrality does not show transparency, it does not show accountability, it does not show ownership, it does not show fairness.
The local government minister's assessment tour of projects took him to 3 beneficiary districts in the Eastern region under the Ghana Secondary Cities Support Program, which aims to enhance urban infrastructure, management, and basic services in selected municipal assemblies to accommodate the growing population.
An assembly member cannot attend an assembly meeting without meeting people in his jurisdiction. And after each assembly meeting, the person should go back and interact with the people. It's in the law. The functions of this assembly is very clear. You understand? So we expect them to exercise it. And it calls for more education, more sensitization, increase in capacity building. And that's what we are doing.
Welcome back to News 360 on TV3. Time for business. And you know that for the last month or more, we've been talking about the lithium mining saga. What's happening in the community of business people?
Well, basically, experts are calling on the government to make sure that it acquires more stake in the business once it takes off.
It takes off. All right, give us details.
All right, then. Good evening. Welcome to the business segment here on News 360. I'm Michael Ubodu. Straight into our top story now. Mining consultant Seth Wolashime has urged the government to acquire a large stake in Atlantic Lithium, a company exploring lithium deposits in Ghana, while simultaneously investing in value-adding activities for the mineral. Wolashime argues that the lithium value chain holds immense potential for driving Ghana's industrialization efforts.
Mining consultant believes increasing the government's ownership in Atlantic Lithium would provide greater control over the resource and ensure its strategic utilization for national development.
They've gotten a little more than they normally have for gold, but that shouldn't cause us to be clapping for ourselves because we can get more. If you borrow about $200–300 million to put into a venture and you get about 50 to 60% of the stake in the mine, that money will be paid back in no time because lithium is very expensive. It's more expensive than gold as we speak.
Lithium has been dubbed as the mineral of the 21st century. The automotive industry is dependent on it to transition from fossil fuel-powered vehicles to electronic powering.
So I don't think we should be applauding ourselves for making a few percentage points higher than whatever we used to get in gold, which we have not even done better with. So I think that that kind of jubilation or celebration is uncalled for and is even premature.
Investing in value chain of lithium, such as refining and battery manufacturing, could create jobs, attract investment, and contribute significantly to the country's economic diversification.
If you get an opportunity like this, you should be asking that whatever minerals is mined here be processed here into the primary product, and also even to take it a step further by manufacturing the lithium batteries here in Ghana. Then you will be convincing me that you are serious with that policy initiative of Ghana Beyond Aid.
Engaging in strategic partnerships with experienced foreign investors and attracting international expertise can be crucial in navigating the complexities of the lithium value chain. Eben Ajekumbuating, 3 Business, Accra.
Now, the Director of Academic Planning at Gimpa Business School, Dr. Ebenezer Bugui Anafo, has expressed concerns over a possible hike in Treasury Bill rates next year due to the government's potential increased spending in 2024, driven by elections and its limited credit options. This, he argues, may lead to continued reliance on the Treasury Bill market, resulting in higher interest rates.
Next year, the government is likely or will be tempted to spend more because it's an election year. Yeah, but unfortunately, because of the IMF program, all sources of revenue or borrowing opportunities are closed. So government will be tempted to borrow domestically, in the form of Treasury bills. So we expect Treasury bill rates to go up next year, and that will also mean that interest rates will go up, even though they are already high. So that will also mean that it will result in something we call crowding out effect, because government is going to be competing with private sector for the same loanable funds. So we expect interest rates to go up, and that will not promote productivity. Businesses will not be able to borrow at lower interest rate to invest and all that.
Now, the Institute of Fiscal Studies is pressing the government to reassess the extractive sector aspect of the medium-term revenue strategy, emphasizing the need to fortify the country's revenue position. The Institute is advocating for the inclusion of long-standing recommendations in this sector, such as active state involvement or the adoption of production sharing agreements. Speaking at the 2024 Post-Budget Forum arranged by the IFS, lead researcher Dr. Saeed Boache articulated these suggestions, emphasizing their importance for the country's fiscal outlook.
These foreign companies are in Ghana, making huge sums of money, particularly from our extractive sector. The monies we need to finance our development, they are taking them away. And that should be a leverage. It should be a leverage. They're taking away our revenues. You go to Botswana, they enjoy about 95% of returns, net returns that come from their diamond. We enjoy only about 10% of net return that come from our gold. The rest is going to these foreign-owned companies coming from those countries. So we have to leverage that. Either directly getting those revenues to help us, or as they are getting their revenue, it should be linked to debt cancellation. We have to be frank. We cannot, and I tell you, permanently give away what is needed to build our economy. People talk about industrialization. Those countries that industrialized leverage on their resources.
And that'll be all for the business segment.